Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about some handheld saws that are going to be very commonly used, especially in the construction classes. And so we're going to be talking today about the circular saw, the jigsaw, and the reciprocating saw. For us in this class, especially the Intro to ACE classes, the circular saw is definitely going to be the one that we're going to spend the most time using. And it's also the one that is a little bit more dangerous as far as safety concerns go compared to something like a jigsaw. So we'll be spending most of our time talking about that. The biggest thing we want to make sure we are aware of here is our personal protective equipment that we need when we're using these saws. As any time we're in the shop, we need to have our safety glasses on. We need to have closed-toed shoes. And if you would like, while using these saws, hearing protection is never a bad idea. We always have that available if you want it. Finally, we want to make sure that we are avoiding any loose clothing or jewelry. So anything that's dangling down in front of us. Loose sleeves are going to be a problem because those can get caught in our circular saw, and that's going to be a very bad thing. Before we use any of these saws, we want to make sure that we take a quick look and inspect them. We want to make sure that our blade guard is going to move freely. We want to make sure that the blade is installed correctly. You can see the direction of turn should be this way. It should match on the blade guard and the blade. If we're looking at a jigsaw, we want to make sure that our blade is straight, not bent one way or the other, and that it is appropriate for the material we are cutting, that it is long enough, and that it is made for wood for our case. They do have metal blades. Make sure we're not using those. And then for the reciprocating saw, we won't use these very much, but again, make sure the blade is installed securely and that it is straight. We'll go ahead and switch over to a video of me cutting something in a second here, but we'll always need to make sure that we're going to clamp our material securely. When we're holding these saws, we kind of have a choice between two hands on the saw at all times, or that second hand at least a hand's width away from the saw blade, whether that's on that side or on that side. With the jigsaw, same thing, either two hands on the saw holding it like this, or at least a hand's width away. For a sawzall or a reciprocating saw, we always have two hands on the saw, one on the trigger, one holding it up here. Always two hands on this one. So when we're getting ready to cut with a circular saw, we've got a couple of choices in how we choose to support our work. If we've got a longer board, we might choose to span between two sawhorses, just to give both ends of that board some support. The big thing we want to make sure that we have, though, is that the piece that we're going to cut off, you can see I put an X here on this cutoff part, has to be able to fall off freely. If we are putting a board between two sawhorses and we try to make a cut in the middle, our board is going to want to bend in and it's going to clamp on the blade, and that'll kick the saw back at you. I'll probably show you that in class. So we're going to just use one sawhorse today because these are a fairly short board, and I like to cut off the end of the sawhorse when I'm cutting something short. And you've got a couple of choices here again. If you are comfortable with it, you can hold the board with your hand and hold the saw with the other hand and make your cut that way. It's a little bit more freehand approach there. You can certainly grab a clamp to hold your board or have a partner hold that board for you. But either way, make sure that we are holding this board so that it cannot move while we're making our cut. Then when we go to actually make the cut, we need to make sure that we are putting our blade on the correct side of the line. So I have my waist cut over here. I need my blade to be on this side of the line. I need to make sure that my blade is set to the correct depth. So it should be able to go through the material, but not a whole lot farther than that. Make sure there's nothing underneath there that's going to get hit by the blade, and then I can go ahead and make that cut. And so we'll talk about some ways to use a square to help make straighter cuts and things like that. But for now, that's kind of the basics of how to use the tool safely. The last thing I want to mention, I probably should have talked about this earlier, is if you happen to be changing a saw blade. You probably won't be changing a blade on these, but on the jigsaw, it's much more likely. Anytime you might be changing the blade on these, make sure that the battery is removed. We don't want to accidentally have the tool start moving while we're trying to change a blade. I guess we can go ahead and show you real quick how the jigsaw might work a little bit differently. Same kind of thing here. We want to make sure that if we're holding that board, our hand is at least a blade's width away and we've got a secure grip on it. And we're going to just feed in the jigsaw at a nice comfortable speed. We're not going to push super hard. And if we need to make turns, we're going to do those nice and slowly. And so you can see there, we can cut some sort of a curve on that board if we needed to. Okay, so just to review kind of the basics, the very important things here, the circular saw is going to be the one that we're going to use the most often. We'll also probably end up using a jigsaw occasionally. Biggest rules with those are going to be our safety glasses anytime we're in the shop, closed-toed shoes, and anything that is loose or dangling like necklaces, hair, long sleeves. We need to make sure those are secured so that they cannot get caught in the blade. When we're using the saw, make sure that we are aware of that blade underneath the wood. Make sure that our hand or anything else that we don't want to cut is at least a hand's width away. And then just take that cut nice and slow, and you should be good to go.